Assalamu alaikum lovelies, welcome again to my channel. I'm Baliki Zabiela, and in this video you'll be learning how to make this simple but gorgeous dress design. So for this design, as you can see that the waist is snatched with pleats. I will advise that you wear it indoors, or even if you have to wear it out, to wear it under a jilbab or a maxi abaya or a kimono, or at least you wear it with a hip or new length hijab. So without wasting your time, let's get started. To cut this dress, I'll be using a freehand method of cutting. And to start cutting, I get my fabric ready, my scissors, my tape measure, my ruler, my French curve, my chalk, and the necessary measurement that I need. Now to start cutting, I'll measure out 90 inches from the main fabric that I have, because I think I have 8 yards of fabric here. So I will measure 90 inches. So from this 90 inches, I already have the actual wideness that I want plus the sewing allowance. So I actually want 82 inches for the wideness of the dress. Then, 82 and 90 inches minus 82 inches, that is 8 inches. So the remaining 8 inches is for the seam allowance that I need dead throughout the cutting of the dress and sewing it. So from the 8 inches, I will use 1.5 inches for the left, and like for the left hand side I'll use 1.5 inches for the front and back. Then the right hand side I use 1.5 inches for the front and back. For the sewing allowance, that is 6 inches. So 3 inches on the left hand side, 3 inches of the on the right hand side, that's 6 inches. Then the remaining 2 inches will be for the zipper allowance. So I'll need 1 inch for the left side of the zipper allowance and 1 inch for the right side of the zipper allowance. So when we add all these allowances and the main wideness I needed for the dress, we'll get 90 inches. So if you want your dress to be wider than this, let's say you want your dress to be 90 inches wide, then you add the necessary seam allowance to that 90 inches. So after cutting out the 90 inches wideness, I'll fold the fabric into 4. But when I fold into 4, I won't fold it equally into 4. I will fold it in a way that I have excess of 2 inches on the back side. So the 2 inches excess will be for the zipper allowance on the back side of the dress. So after folding into 4 and adjusting the fabric properly in order for it to lay well, I'll start inputting the measurement. So I'll measure the shoulder of 8 inches. Don't forget this is a freehand cutting. So I already added the seam allowance for the shoulder side on that 8 inches. So the actual shoulder is 7.5. Then I added half an inch for the shoulder seam allowance. Then I marked 3 inches for the neck wideness. So because I wasn't cutting this dress on the straight grain, we have the selvage on the upper part and the down part of the fabric. Instead of, because if I had wanted to cut it on a straight grain, the selvage will be on the side. But because I decided to cut it otherwise, so the selvage is on the upper part, and I don't want it to affect my measurement, so I'm just going to trim out before I start imputing the measurement. So I tried to see what I measured again. Then when I confirmed that, I go on the shoulder side. I measured the 8 inches again, and I think because it was not accurate, so I had to remeasure and check again. So now input all my vertical measurement. So I'll put my tape measure directly on the tip of the neckline, then measure what my shoulder to bust is, what my shoulder to under bust is, and what my shoulder to hip line is. We don't necessarily need the shoulder to waistline due to the design of the dress we are making. So after that, I'll use my ruler to draw a line, an horizontal line on that spot that I mark. So this is on the under bust. I'll draw an horizontal line, then also on the hip line. After that, I'll go back to the neckline, measure 1.5 inches for the back neckline and 3 inches for the front neckline. So I'll connect it this way with my French cuff. Don't forget 1.5 inches for the back neckline and 3 inches for the front neckline. I'm sorry, I worked on the shoulder when I was out of camera. So what I basically did was to come down 1 inch from the edge of the fabric. Then I slanted. You can see the shoulder is a little bit slanted. Then I slant it with my ruler. So it is from that point I measured my shoulder depth, 8 inches for the shoulder depth. So I chalked that 8 inches with my chalk. Then I went back to the bust line and I measure my bust measurement divided by 4. So my bust measurement divided by 4, I marked it, which is 8.5. Then I added 1.5 seam allowance. Then I'll connect it to the end of my shoulder depth in a straight line. After that, I'll connect the shoulder line also in a straight line. Then I'll connect it in a curve like this using my French curve. After that, I'll use my long ruler to connect that point down to the edge of the dress. You can see the way I'm doing it. So I'll just make sure I slant it this way and draw a straight line down to the down part of the dress. So after that, I'll come to the under bust to measure what I have for the under bust. So what I have for the under bust is 7.5 inches. So I'll chalk it. Then I'll measure 1.5 seam allowance. So why we are doing this is because I want to know what the excess that we have on the bust line, on the under bust line, because it is this excess we will use to make our pleats. Don't forget, we want the waist to be fitted, and the way you can see the way we originally slanted the dress. There is no way the dress is going to be fitted on the waistline. So it is that excess that we have from where I measured my under bust measurement and allowance. The excess that we have, that is what we use to make the pleats. So after measuring the excess that I have from this point to this point, I measured 2.5 inches. So we have 2.5 inches for the excess. It means that the 3 pleats we have, because if you look at the dress, you see that we have 3 pleats on the left and 3 pleats on the right. So which means that as this dress is folded into 4, each side of this folded pleat, because we have pleats on the back also, each side of this folded pleat has that 3 pleats each. So we have 3 times 4, that is 12 pleats altogether. So now we are going to determine where each of the pleats, where we are going to put them on the dress. So for the first pleat, I'll measure 3 inches from the center front of the dress, from the center front and back. So I'll measure 3 inches. So that 3 inches, I'll chalk it. Then after that 3 inches, I'll measure 2.5 inches from the first pleat. I'll measure 2.5 inches from the first pleat to create the second pleat. And from the second pleat also, I'll measure 2.5 inches for the third pleat to create the third pleat. Now, the last thing we are to determine now is where the pleat will stop. Because when you look at the dress very well, you will see that this pleat is not up to the hip line. So if I go ahead to pleat this line that I draw, then the hip will be very tight. So I'm just going to measure 7 inches from my underbust. 7 inches. Just 7 inches from the underbust. So it is where that 7 inches stop. That is where my pleat will stop to. So I'm going to draw a line on that 7 inches now to indicate that that is where I want the pleat to stop. So after this, I'll cut out the dress. For the neckline, I'll cut the back and front together for the back neckline. Then I'll remove the back and cut just the front neckline alone for the front neckline. Then I'll cut the rest also. After cutting, I will make sure I secure the dress together with my pins. Don't forget that this line I drew for the pleat is for the 4 layers. So if I don't want to do another work of marking the lines on all the other three layers. I will secure well with my pin before I pack it. So after then, I will cut the facing for the necklines, both for the front and the back neckline. You can see the way I'm doing it. Just trace it, then you cut out this way. I'll do that for the back neckline also. Then I'll pack it aside and cut my sleeve. So the sleeve is just a simple basic sleeve, so I'm not going to dwell on it too much. I just mark my sleeve measurement and I cut it out. So let's go to the sewing of the dress now. So to start sewing the dress, the first, which is also the most important part of this dress, is the pleat, because the pleat is the basic like thing we are focusing on this dress. So I'll make sure I iron out all these pleats that you see. So I have secured the four layers together with my paint, so it means I'm going to iron them together this way. So now I'll plug my iron, then wait for it to heat up a little, then I'll fold each of these pleats. I'll fold them and iron press properly, just to have that crease on the line. So instead of the chalk that I have, I want to have a crease on the four layers of the dress instead. So now let's start with the first pleat, the pleat that is closer to the side seams. So you can see the way I folded it. I make sure that the line that I made earlier is directly on the center, can you see, of the fold. So now I'll press with my iron just to have the crease. After that, I will open up the dress. So now you can see that the chalk marking is no more visible because of the steam of the iron, but the crease has replaced it. So now we are going to do the same thing to the second pleat. So I'll fold the second pleat also the same way, making sure that the chalk marking of the second pleat is directly on the center of the fold. So now it is a little bit more difficult than the first ironing, because we don't want to lose the crease on the first pleat. We already made the crease for the first pleat, and if I place my iron directly, like do the normal ironing, then I will just iron the first crease. I'm just going to carefully place my iron just on the edge of the fabric only, just on the edge. Carefully place it on the edge of the fabric and make a crease on the next pleat. So I'll do the same thing to the third pleat also. So now we have a crease replacing the chalk markings. So before we have just the chalk marking only on the first layer of the dress. Now I've used my iron to make a crease on the four layers all together at the same time. So the next thing is for us to go to the machine and I like each pleat. So don't forget, the allowance we have for the pleat, for three pleats we have 2.5 inches. So it is this 2.5 inches we divided by 3 to get the amount of allowance we will use for each plate. So 2.5 inches by 3 is a little bit above 3/4 of an inch. So that is what I'm using to make each of my plates. So I'll just continue. This is the first one, I'll make the second one, the third one, and that is how I'll do it till I finish all the 12 pleats for this dress. So after making all the pleats, this is what I have. This is the front part of the dress, and this is the back side of the dress. So The next thing I'll do now is to join the facing to the neckline of both the front and the back side of the dress. After joining the facing, this is what I have. I went ahead to overlock the edge of the facing also, and I notched the joining. Then for the back side, I fixed the zipper after joining the facing to it. I used a black zipper with a silver tip because I couldn't get a matching zipper for this color. So after that, I will join the shoulders. I will join the front and back on the shoulder. After joining the shoulder, I went ahead to overlock all the raw edges and fixed my sleeve. So I like I said earlier, this sleeve is just a basic sleeve, a puff sleeve with a simple elastic. So I made a video earlier on how I made this single elastic in a very easy and stressless way, so you can watch my previous video before this one. So after that, I'll be joining the sides of the dress. So I'll join the sides of the dress and also aim the circumference of the dress, and after that our beautiful dress is ready. This dress is simple and straightforward, right? If you have watched my video to this point, I say Jazakumullah khairan. Thank you very much. If you find this video beneficial, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. If you have any question about this dress, or you have anything or any tutorial you want me to do later on, you can let me know in the comment section. See you in my next video. Bye.